Now, here's the thing that you're going to find out about favor is that favor is not based on you, it's not based on where you live, it's not based on your class, it's not based on how you look, it's not based on any of that. It's something that is given by God. What's happening, everybody? This is CJ Jackson again, coming to you from Time for Truth. Here I am still in the Eastern Shores, enjoying this hot weather that we're having this summer. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, I want to make sure that all the folks that watch us, and there's a lot of people that do from all over the globe, that you subscribe. And not only that, but that you would encourage a friend to subscribe as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you a challenge that I did on a previous occasion some time back ago, that if you subscribe at least 2 to 3 people, preferably 3, you will get a free copy of my latest book that I have composed, that I want to make sure that anyone that hasn't had a copy of that, you will have that, and hopefully it will bring a blessing to your life, as I know it has brought to me and my family and those that are around me as well. Today, we're going to continue with looking at some things that I think are very practical of life, talk about what it means to be a woman or a man of God who is living in our world today, and some of the things that you and I hear so often, but we don't have enough of a foundation to take a position on how to live something out. So today is going to be more or less a teaching session. Really, a teaching session, and I want to have the opportunity to expound on some things that I think a lot of times we hear a lot, but we don't know how to walk it out. And so today I want to talk about walking in the favor of God. Walking in the favor of God. Now, many of you probably have heard that term favor. And I know it may have left you with some twisted concepts. It may have left you with maybe some things that you can embrace and understand. And maybe a lot of us are confused and maybe even convoluted about some of the things that we've heard about favor. But we really need to know that favor is something that is doable, accessible, and also available to those that are having a walk in a relationship with Christ. Yeah, it's something that we can tap into. Now, here's the thing that you're going to find out about favor is that favor is not based on you, it's not based on where you live, it's not based on your class, it's not based on how you look, it's not based on any of that. It's something that is given by God. I need you to understand that first and foremost. It is not going to happen because of you. It is not going to happen because of what you ultimately are doing. It's not about your works. It's not about virtually how you go about living. It is something that is geared, directed, and facilitated by God. So we need to get that in our understanding, that there's not things that clearly give us the indication that, oh, this person is favored by God and I'm not going to be favored by God. No, that's not how this works. This is all because of God. It's not because of you. In other words, you don't have any power over having and receiving the favor of God. The only one that has the power and the ability to pour on you favor is God. That's the only one. So before we go into any depth of talking about favor, we really need to know what it is and what does the word reveal about favor. So I think the first question that somebody may ask is the word itself in the Bible? And yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is a biblical word. It is a word of the Word of God. It is something that we can look at, we can identify, and we can see. In fact, I'm going to be reading from Psalms 90 and verse 17. And the psalmist said this: "Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us." Okay, so this is something that the psalmist is pronouncing, he is proclaiming, he is asking, he is seeking the favor of God to be upon not only himself but others. So favor is not something that just happens to one person. It was supposed to be available to all the people of God. It was supposed to be available to everybody in God. But here's what he says in addition to that. He says, let the favor of the Lord be upon us and establish the work of our hands upon us. In other words, give me direction as to how I'm going about functioning, of what I'm doing, how I'm living, my career, my path, my profession. Help me to navigate this. And then he says, and establish the work of our hands. So, in other words, we're talking about what am I doing in my activity, in my limbs, in my occupation, in my career, in my path, in my fulfillment, in my life. What am I doing? And whatever I do, it needs to be established by the favor of God. The word establish deals with having a functioning operation to where literally it is moving and flourishing and beginning to show that which relates to the favor of God. Now, we're going to get more into what does the favor of God really mean, because I think in order for us to understand that it can show up in your life, it can show up in your hands, it can show up in your path, it can show up in your occupation, it can show up in your home, it can show up in your mind. You need to understand literally how does it happen and what actually is the favor of God. Okay. So, what I want us to do first off is I want us to really begin to think a little bit more about this concept of favor, because a lot of times when we think about it, we're only thinking about favor as it pertains to my occupation. We're thinking about it as it pertains to me being an entrepreneur. We're thinking about it as it pertains to me having a business, being self employed, watching the increase in the intensity of my finances, or with that which shows clearly what God has given me, to watch the proceeds and those things that show clearly that God has given me something that shows multiplication. But I want you to recognize that this favor is from God. It's not directed, it's not going to be initiated by you. Favor is by God. So no one can put favor on you. You can't announce it on yourself. It can only come from God. Remember, the psalmist was asking for the favor to be upon him and all those that he was connected with. So we need to understand that we don't control favor. We don't control favor. Favor is not something that is under your control to handle it, twist it, and have it to go in whatever capacity you want it to. No, that's not how favor works. So let's discover, what does favor mean? Here are the keys. Number one, favor is the divine approval of God. I need you to understand that. Favor is the divine approval of God. What does that mean? Divine means that it has the very essence of God in it. Divine means it has the godly attributes of God, the power of God, the strength of God, the might of God, the look of God, the vision of God, that God is in it completely, that there's nothing in this realm of favor that is not incorporated by God. It doesn't have anything in it but that which resembles God. So that's what favor is. When we talk about divine authority, we're not talking about your plan, we're talking about his plan. So divine approval deals with divine authority, meaning it has God's authority, it has God's creativity, it has God's initiation. It was established by God, it was put in place by God. The door is open because of God. It's all God. Amen. It's all God. So when we think that literally we can twist favor the way we want it, the way we want to, we can't. Favor is outside of our ability to control. It is established by God. That's what divine authority means. It means it is established by God. It means that it has God's stamp on it. Listen, it has God's stamp on it. And many of us have gone out on a lot of different ventures and we thought it had the stamp of God, but it looks like something stepped on top of it and stamped it out. So if it does not have the stamp of God, it is not going to see clearly the favor that comes from God. When God's favor is on something, it doesn't get stamped out. It shows the stamp of God. And many of us struggle with going into a variety of different places, believing and conjuring up on our own. Yes, this has to have the favor of God. God is all over this. Oh, he wants me to marry this person. He wants me to open this business. He wants me to do this. Does he? Does he really want you to do all those things? Or are these things that literally we have come to the conclusion on our own without discovering if or if not, it has the favor of God on it? So we need to understand first and foremost that it has the divine approval. When something has the divine approval, it's not going to fall. It's not going to be destroyed. It's not going to end. It's not going to fall. It's not going to collapse. It's not going to end up in disarray. It is going to do what God has already spoken into existence to watch the manifestation of that thing be delivered in your life. And it's not about time. It's not about time. It's not about looking at a clock. It's about God's time and when he wants to release this particular area of favor in or around your life. Number two, the second thing, it's an unearned gift. It's an unearned gift. In other words, it has the kindness of God, the grace of God, the goodness of God that has been bestowed on somebody. And guess what? You didn't earn it. You did not earn it. It is something that came to you by God without you jumping through some hoops, saying, I did all these different works, so God's going to give me all this favor. No, it's not about that. It's about the love of God and about the grace of God and the goodness of God because of the relationship he has specifically with you. That's not about what you do, but because of who you are. And too often, I think many of us have been caught up in this thing that literally says, I have to be like this. 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 And God is just wanting you to be with him. He is just wanting you to worship him in spirit and in truth, and to have a walk with him that shows sincerity, honesty, humility, and an openness to be not closed, but willing to let God have his way completely in your life. It doesn't mean you are perfect, but it means you are willing to be perfected by the will of God. So that's number two. It's an unearned gift. It's an unearned gift. Now, three is probably one of the most important pieces that I want to cover before I close. And that is, it has the protection and the help of God. Favor means that you are protected and you can sense the help of God. It could be protection over death, protection over illness, protection over disease, protection over depression, protection over division, protection over destruction, protection even over loss. And I don't know about you, but I know in my own life, I can identify this protection of God in my life, protecting me over disease, protecting me over death, protecting me over loss, protecting me in my heart, protecting me in my home, protecting me in all the things that are in my life, around my life. I have witnessed the protection of God. Now remember, the protection of God is an eyewitness observation of the favor of God. So you can't just witness that everything seems to be falling apart consistently. Everywhere you look, there is a track record of devastation, whether it's with relationships, home, finances. That there's something clogging up favor. When you witness so much of that happening on a regular in your life and in my life, something is clogging up the favor of God. And I plead with God each and every day, please, Lord, do not let your favor leave from me. I want the favor of God. And I have to admit that I'm not favorable. Come on, somebody. That God did a lot for me that I didn't earn. There's nothing in my life that says, "Ooh, I'm going to give this to CJ." No, no, I'm not good enough to receive all that God has given me. That goes to prove that it's favor. And so I need you to start looking at areas in your life that clearly give the indication in your life that it has divine approval, that it's an unearned gift, and it shows the protection and the help of God. Because if you can find those things, you have favor. But remember, we're talking about walking in favor. Walking in favor. What does it take to walk in favor? Well, the Bible says, humble thyself in the sight of God. Humility is a key. What does humility do? Humility prevents you from being a person of pride. Pride causes you to act selfishly, to move in a way that you're doing some things independent of God, and you're not allowing yourself to be navigated through whatever course of life you are traveling on that demands the instructions of God. It's the willingness to say, I am nothing and He is everything. When you clearly are trying to promote self and act like you have nothing under your hood that shows that you need some maintenance, there is going to be clearly the evidence that there is a lack of favor in your life. Favor comes to those that are real. Favor comes to those that are open. Favor comes to those that have a repentant heart. Favor comes to those that are willing to admit that they struggle. Favor comes to those that are willing to recognize they are nothing in the sight of God, but they are great with His might and hit with His connection. So I'm going to stop on this because there's much more I want to talk about in walking out this favor. Okay, now let me give you a prelude of what I want to talk about on the next occasion because it's deep. And I'm going to start it with this comment. The favor in your life cannot be interrupted by those that despise you. Listen, there are people that will despise you because of the favor in you. They will despise you. They will despise the covering that's on your life. They will despise the gifts that have come into your life. They will despise the things that literally are being revealed from your life. They will despise that. And this is not uncommon. This is not unusual. This has gone on since the beginning of time. But we're going to end on this note because I don't like to go too far into areas before we can really take what we've already received, go back, study, look at this, and describe in detail what took place. So, with that, I'm going to ask you to do some homework. That is something I haven't asked you guys to do in quite some time. Do some homework about David, King David, before he was king, and look at his life when he had to deal with the previous king, which was Saul. In this story, you're going to see some of the things that we're talking about the favor of God and losing the favor of God. Okay? So we're going to end on that. I pray that you've been blessed by what we have uncovered so far.